Hello and welcome to another episode of the Garden in the Kitchen Cooking Show. I am Chef Silvia Dunnirvine.
And I'm Anne Buckley.
Welcome back. Today we have an amazing recipe that I'm so excited to share with you all and with Anne. I know you're going to love this one.
Yeah, I can already smell everything coming through here just from the ingredients that you've prepared. So what are we going to be making?
Today we'll be making a Veggie Tortellini Soup.
Okay.
Everybody loves this recipe because it's got the pasta with the cheese. It's got a lot of broth and a lot of vegetables. So it's like a good mix of soup and pasta. And we have a lot of ingredients here, but all easy stuff.
Good. So we're getting the nourishment and we're getting the comfort food all in one.
Exactly.
Great.
Which is
good.
perfect for this time of year.
Absolutely, yes.
There's nothing like a warm soup at the end of the day.
Yes. Or even the middle of the day, any time of the day.
Yes, any time of the day.
Yeah.
And I love vegetables, as you know, like every single one of them. And I just love like nourishing my body with a variety of vegetables.
Okay. So what have we got here? Take us through the ingredients.
Yeah, so the soup, we'll start with sauteing some onions and garlic as per usual.
Yes.
We do have a parmesan rind to add in a little bit of flavor. And what else? We got a tortellini, a cheese tortellini here. Broth, tomato diced. It can be chopped. It can just be plain sauce.
Yeah.
And we'll finish off the soup with some carrots and kale. You can substitute the kale for spinach, and if you don't like either one of these choices, just add a lot of parsley.
Okay.
Or just don't.
Yeah, okay. I think you mentioned that because I was saying that kale is my least favourite vegetable, so show me something that's going to make me enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to tasting at the end here.
Sure, totally. And I can understand that because kale is so like rough.
Yes.
You know, so there is a trick to kale that is to soften, you know, to make it more palatable. And I mean, still, it's okay if you don't like kale. I mean, there's always other options, right? But we're going to try very hard to get into like kale today.
Okay, I accept the challenge.
Awesome.
Let's get cooking.
Let's get cooking. So I'll start my burner. Add in some heat. I have a big pot here. This is like a Dutch oven. Just make sure you get a big soup pot so you got room to add in all of your broth and stir up. And
to let it all move about and blend the flavors together.
Exactly. So we'll start with oil. I think I have about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half here.
Just to coat the bottom of the pan,
really. Basically, and just to help the onions and the garlic. So in goes the onion. So this is one whole onion.
Okay. And just finely chopped there, but not too tiny that you can't have any texture to it.
Then I got 2 garlic cloves here.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna add that in. Actually, I'm just gonna lower the heat if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I don't want my onions to burn.
Okay. So just a light saute on the onions, and then while they're in, you can prep your garlic.
Exactly. So peeling off these guys.
And you use the crushing method to get the skins off?
Yes. I think we went over this last time, right?
We have, yes.
So you have to be careful, of course, you know, because you're dealing with a big, sharp knife, but that's my favorite method, pressing one.
Yeah, I've been using it and it is very effective.
That's great.
Saves getting all of that garlic oil into your fingers. And
yes. And actually, I'm going to chop some carrots as well.
Okay.
The recipe does say right after the onion and the garlic, just give that like 2 to 3 minutes, and then you add in some chopped carrots.
Okay.
So we're going to do that.
And nice thick carrots that you're using here. Often
you know,
they're very thin and disappointing at the moment.
Totally. I just find them easier to chop. As you could see,
absolutely,
it was a lot easier than a thin. But of course, you can't always find.
No.
You know, so you get what you get, but and you don't get upset. But if I can choose, it's like a thick one.
Yes. My daughter's kindergarten teacher used to come out with all of those phrases, and they still exist in our home.
They do, and they work too. So I'm gonna grab my carrots and add that in. So we're just sauteing things right now.
And the smells, fragrances are already coming out there from the vegetables sauteing.
It is, and this is what adds flavor to things. You know, this few minutes of sauteing and infusing flavor in there. So I think I'm just gonna add my carrots in.
And I love this little scraper that you're using.
Yes.
So
it's called a bench scraper.
Okay.
And it's nice because you can tuck it in right under your cooking cutting board and just pull it out.
Just pull it out when you need it. Yeah.
Instead of doing, I do a lot with a knife, which is obviously not safe, but I do gather a lot of my ingredients. But it's not super safe with your hand, but also it's not good for the blade of the knife either.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is your tool.
Okay.
So we're doing really good here, Anne.
Good. Making good progress.
Yep.
Smell that sizzling. Hear the sizzling.
And color, we're adding color. So we're going in with our second carrot here. The recipe calls for 2 cups of carrots. Sliced. I've noticed that I chopped mine like small, not quite sliced.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yep.
But this one, I'm gonna chop halfway like this.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter, but okay. So I would say this is 2 cups of carrots.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be precise.
Correct, it doesn't have to be precise. So next we're gonna add the tomato paste, which is the recipe calls for 1.5 tablespoons, but it doesn't have to be
just
precise. Just a squeeze, like a generous squeeze.
That's how I work.
That will do.
Yep.
And then next we're going to season our soup, which today I'm using oregano.
Yep.
And red pepper flakes.
Okay.
Just for a little bit of heat.
Okay.
And actually, I forgot to add the parmesan rind.
Okay.
So that's going in right now.
And you just add it as it looks like a slab there.
Yes, it is like a thin, it's like the end piece of the Parmesan cheese. And what happens is when you let the soup cook with that cheese in there, it just absorbs the flavor, the cheesy flavor.
Right, okay.
And it's just so good. In fact, this recipe exists on my site for like 3 or 4 years, and the original recipe did not call for Parmesan rind.
Okay.
But what I do is like every couple of years, I like to revise my recipes and see what I can do to make them even better. And sometimes I take new photos, and this was the addition to the recipe.
And how well has that been received, Silvia?
Really, really well, actually. Oops, here comes the cloth. All right, we're looking good here in.
Great. I can see the richness of the colors now. They're really popping.
Yes.
Good.
So we're gonna season. And over here, we have, right here. So here's the oregano, red pepper flakes. If you do not like any heat or just prefer not to, just skip the red pepper flakes. But this is not gonna make your soup spicy. Okay. Just a little bit of heat. So that goes in. And some salt and pepper. So we'll add that in. Just some salt. And I like to use sea salt, which is not super fine. It's got a texture, but it's my favorite salt because it doesn't add a lot of saltiness to the food.
Good. Okay.
And it's got some important vitamins in the salt that sometimes you can't find in the refined table salt.
Yeah.
So
it looks really pretty as well.
okay, I think I seasoned it enough.
And do you taste when you're seasoning? Do you like check the seasoning? And at what point, at what stage would you test the seasoning?
Not now, because you have no broth to, you know, now you just have to kind of bite into a raw carrot to, you know. I think a lot of cooks kind of know, you know, how much salt to add to the, I certainly do. But I'll be, you know, normally when I am making a recipe for the site, I taste it like 2 or 3 times throughout the cooking process, just to make sure. But a lot of times I just taste it at the very end, and you can adjust at that point as well, and that's fine. Okay, so let's see what's next. Everything's sauteing, all of the flavors are here and mingling, and now we'll add the broth and the tomato paste.
Okay.
So not paste, I mean tomato sauce. We've got 28 ounces of diced tomatoes. You can use pureed, whole tomatoes if you want the chunks of tomatoes, or just straight up like tomato sauce. Okay. 28 ounces going in. And 32 ounces of vegetable broth. You can also use chicken broth. Okay. Or bone broth. Okay. I have a wonderful bone broth recipe on the website.
Which is very good for you, isn't it? The bone broth has lots of nutrients
and nourishing
important things in there.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times when I make my own bone broth, I save some aside, set some aside to just drink up like a hot cup of bone broth each day. It's
Give your body
very
that
nourishing.
Boost. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Anne.
That's looking really rich now.
It is, and we're actually going to cover the pot and let it simmer for a little while. Okay. And just what that will do is just soften the carrots and absorb the flavors, and then we'll come back and add the tortellini and the kale. Okay. And then let it sit for another few minutes just to soften the kale and the tortellini, which only takes really requires like 3 or so minutes, so you don't want to let it sit too long. What happens is the tortellini will expand and absorb the liquids. Yes. So this is not the kind of soup that is good in like 3 or 4 days. So eat today or the next day, because the tortellini will kind of get a little soggy. Yes. And soak up all of the liquids from the soup. Okay. So this is a soup that you want to eat the same day or the next day.
I shouldn't think there'll be a problem with that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it ever lasted 3 days in this house. So,
excellent.
Great. So we'll take a break at this time, come back and finish our soup. Welcome back, friends. Our soup is bubbling away. We're just going to add some kale, tortellini, and give it another few minutes for those 2 ingredients to cook, and then we'll be tasting our recipe.
Ready to taste. Excellent. Can't wait.
Yeah, great. So we're going to chop up some kale here. The soup is bubbling nice, and carrots have softened. Everything's looking good. I'm just going to chop up some kale, and like I said, and you can use spinach. Do you like spinach?
I do like spinach.
There you go. So that will be your go-to.
It will be my go-to. But I know how good for you kale is, and I think that's probably what's happened is all of these health kicks have kind of overdone kale. And I've probably just gone off of it because it's got to be in this shake and that shake, and you know, like this blended smoothie and that blended smoothie. Yeah. And I think that's probably just what's done it for me. So you can persuade me otherwise.
Yeah,
with
for
a
a while there was kale in everything. Yeah. Cookies, everything you can think of had kale in it. I mean, it is a very nourishing leaf, you know, vegetable leaf. But it's, I'll be honest, it took me some time to start enjoying.
To adjust your palate to it.
Yeah, kale too. I have a couple of salads on the blog that has kale. It's really good. Okay. And the reason for that is like I said, the trick is to soften the kale. So you got to spend a few minutes massaging the kale with some olive oil. So you get your hands oily, and then you massage until it feels soft in your hands. And then the dressing I use is like this beautiful avocado, lemon, cilantro based dressing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's wonderful.
Makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Really
if you've got a good dressing.
Yes.
So you take everything off the stem there. You've got everything
yes,
off
the stems are really not hard to chew, you know. So we're just gonna remove that and take this whole bunch of kale here, which should add up to about 2 cups. But then again, you use more or less depending on
your own preferences.
Exactly. So we're just gonna chop up our kale, and you wanna like make sure you got smaller pieces of kale. You don't wanna like chew up on a huge kale leaf, you know.
That then tries to escape back into the bowl.
Yeah. Well, at least that's how I like it. So
yeah, absolutely.
You do it your way.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are looking good here. Chop, chop, chop.
Very good.
And then we're gonna add this in. Okay. Just gonna use my hands, be easier. And in goes the kale.
Got it. Catch any little escapees.
Yes. Beautiful. And this is 9 ounces of cheese tortellini. You can use frozen tortellini. This is fresh, but you can use frozen too. Okay.
Straight in.
Straight in. And let me take a peek in the colors. The tortellini. You can see the tomato chunks and then the carrots. There's some broth. The tortellini will expand, like I said, but 3 to 4 minutes from now, our soup will be ready. Okay. And wouldn't you say this is an effortless soup recipe?
Absolutely, yes. That looks like a hearty meal there.
Yes.
And for little contribution from the kitchen.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good. Exactly the kind of recipes that I love from your website, Silvia.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. I'm going to cover this and just basically let it simmer to soften the kale, cook our tortellini. Then we'll come back and we'll finish off with lemon juice to balance out all the flavors. Some fresh cilantro. You can use parsley and fresh Parmesan cheese.
Perfect.
And then we'll have our taste.
Excellent. My favorite part.
Awesome. So we'll be back in just a minute. We are back and ready to finish and taste our soup. We're just adding the finishing touches right now, which is, for me, always cilantro. You know?
Yes.
I know some people don't love cilantro. You can add parsley or really whichever
any
herb you like, really. So we're just gonna chop this.
And you always fold them so you get a better slice. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a good little trick there.
It just makes my job a little easier. Okay, and then I just go around like in different directions to make sure I get them all.
A nice almost fine cut on everything.
Yeah. Okay. So in goes the cilantro. And you can already tell the tortellini has expanded and soaked up some of the broth.
I can see.
That's looking good. I'm gonna add in some lemon. I love adding lemon to my soups. I think we do that a lot in Brazil. I'm not sure if that's a common thing around the world.
That's not a common thing that I've come across, no.
But I notice it just kind of balances out the flavors.
Okay,
give it a try and see, you know, and you can always add to just your plate and see what that is like in case you don't like. So I'm just gonna add in some lemon juice, flip it in to the other side.
It's another great tool you've got there.
Yes. Okay. And I'm just gonna do a half for now to be safe in case you don't like. We are already testing you with the kale.
Exactly.
We don't want to test you with the lemon. And we have Parmesan cheese. We're just going to add this to the soup. And this is also another great tool. It's a microplane, and it's good for cheese, as you can see, but also like to garlic, you know, to just with the garlic. And I can't think of anything else. But
I
I'm
use
sure
it just for zesting. So
the lemon zest.
So if I'm zesting a lemon or a lime, but I wouldn't have even considered using it for the cheese and the other suggestions you've made.
And you add as much
ideas.
or as little cheese as you like. And we're just gonna stir everything.
I can see how that's thickened up.
Yes, it has.
In such a short time as well.
And I'm trying to fish for the Parmesan here, but oh, there it is. So as you can see, it doesn't just fully melt into the recipe. It just obviously melts quite a bit, and we're gonna remove this. You can just let it sit in the pot, it's fine. But if you're serving, you know, you wanna remove it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's out. And I think we're ready to try our soup in. What do you think?
Fantastic.
All right, I'm gonna put this away and I'll grab the bowls from you.
2 bowls.
2 bowls.
Okay. Now, as far as wine goes, if you're serving this as a main meal, you're spoilt for choice with soups. It's really whatever you prefer. I tend to go with a white or a rosé.
Okay.
I've got a white for us today, which is a Dove Hunt Dog Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know if you recall, it's one of my absolute favourites from Scout and Cellar. So I hope that you enjoy it.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I love your recommendations, your wine recommendations. As much as I love wine, I never know which one will pair well with my meals.
Yes. And that's a good trick with the website. Actually, you can just put in the food that you're trying to pair the wine with, and it will come up with recommendations for that.
Is that right?
So you can be the connoisseur without having to do all the work.
That is super helpful.
It is helpful. It's very helpful.
So I'm going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to my plate. Would you like some?
Yes, I would,
okay,
please.
Great. Can never have enough cheese.
It looks
That's what
great.
I believe. Okay, so it's nice and hot.
It is. Thank you.
Let's see. I want to see you eating kale in.
Oh, hold on. Let me get some green on there. Okay, there's green.
It's very hot, so.
How hot?
Oh, I love it.
It's very tasty.
So good.
Even with the kale.
Even with the kale, yay!
It's a success.
That's good.
Well done, Silvia.
Thank you.
Another delicious recipe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for watching another episode. This has been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the recipe and will try it at home.